I give you my affectionate greeting. Today I am addressing you to give you the story of my life, first as Elizabeth Alexander Mary, then as Queen Elizabeth II. On April 21st, 1926, at 17 Bourbon Street, London, a baby was born to the Duke of York and his wife Elizabeth. This child was I, born as a princess. I was the eldest child my parents had, and 4 years later my sister Margaret entered this world. In 1936, I suffered from a huge shock. My uncle, King Edward VIII, adopted the throne to marry a divorced American woman. Even at 10 years old, I knew that such behavior in a king was unheard of. I learned from the servants everyone else was afraid to tell me. My father was now King George VI, and I was the heir to the throne. I knew that this was not a cause for celebration. In fact, quite the opposite. So my father and I tried to be the same people we were before this huge change in our lives. Throughout the next few years, I wished, hoped, and prayed that I would have a little brother, so I could lead a more regular life. As I grew up, I became more accustomed to being the heir, and my sister and I had a private tutor to save us from feeling out of place and awkward in traditional schooling. When I was 16 years old, I assumed official duties, which caused the nation to love me and publicize me even more. During World War II, I served in the Auxiliary Territorial Service, and on my 18th birthday, I became a state councilor. When I was 21 years old, I married Philip Mountbatten on November 20th, 1947. 1 year later, on November 14th, I gave birth to my first child, Prince Charles, now the Prince of Wales. He is the present heir to the British throne. 2 years later, my first daughter Anne was born on August 15, 1950. Throughout the next 2 years, I traveled all throughout the world as a representative of Great Britain, gaining the title the Traveling Queen, because although I was not queen yet, I knew I would be before long. In winter of 1952, Philip and I were in Kenya on official business, and on February 6th, I was notified that my father had passed away. I was heartbroken because I hadn't seen much of my father in the past 2 years. I returned to England immediately to attend his funeral. After the initial shock wore off, I realized something else. I was now Queen of Great Britain. On June 2nd, 1953, at Westminster Abbey, I was crowned as Queen. The crowning occurred when I was only 27 years old, which, in my opinion, is far too young to have the responsibilities of a nation thrust upon me. My family and I then moved to Windsor Castle, as I am part of the Windsor family. On a very cold Friday in February of 1960, my second son, Prince Andrew, was born, 12 years after his older brother Charles. 4 years later, in March 1964, Prince Edward was born, the youngest of my 4 children. In the late 1980s, I was facing many personal issues. First, Charles was not interested in becoming king. He preferred to spend his time hunting, playing polo, and talking to his wife, Diana. Second, both Anne and Andrew separated from their spouses during that time. Third, a huge structure of Windsor Castle caught his flames and suffered extensive fire damage. I called that year Anna's Torbevis, so it was a horrible year. In 1995, many Britons were gossiping about Charles and Diana's unhappy 14-year marriage. So, with the good of our nation, I wrote a letter to Charles urging him to divorce. In 1996, they divorced. In 1997, something happened that affected the people of the entire world. Diana died in a car accident on August 31st. Many people thought I didn't care, but I did. So I addressed my nation on a live broadcast, the second time I did that, other than on my annual Christmas Day speech. I told you how much Diana mattered to the people that knew her, and the people that had never met her, but loved her still. In 2007, I became the oldest living Queen of Great Britain. And now, in 2009, I am 83 years old, and for 57 of those years, I have been Queen. And even with my many bad choices and mistakes, I am a very popular Queen.